What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Age of Quarantine. I'm David Castillo from Saint Vitus. You can follow me at Confines World. Really excited. We have Colin from Amenra and Church of Ra, and just absolutely a devastating live band and collective of artists from Belgium that really encapsulate a lot. Of just incredible sounds and visuals and just a true force of nature as a live band. If you've never seen them, go check out their documentary. But he's coming to join us now, and let's get Colin up here. Cheers, guys! I got a little Three Floyds popping off. Hey, and we're just waiting on Colin now. Colin, hello. How are you?
Hey, what's up? Okay,
How's it going, man?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. All good. And you?
I'm great, man. I'm hanging in there in this weird fucking world,
Yeah.
I
We
want to
all
thank you for reaching out to us and being able to get this done. And it's a middle of the night. What time is it in Belgium right now?
2 a.m. So yeah, I took a quick nap before we did this. Yeah.
The guy is a fucking trooper, so thank you for doing that. We really appreciate it. And it's really great. So, Age of Quarantine, we kind of are just trying to chart people's musical journeys while we're all stuck inside for this pandemic and kind of, just kind of bring that kind of, that string that connects us all to light. So the first question that I really ask everyone is, when did you really first start discovering that music was something that you were strongly attracted to? Like when you were really young, a kid even?
I don't know. I think most kids are drawn to the hi-fi set in the living room. It was one of the only magical things in the house next to the TV back then. So, but I think it was because my best friend, like when I was around 12 years old, had an older sister, and she was listening to like heavy metal, and her room was full of metal band posters and shit, and that really intrigued me. She had patched up.
Like the vest?
The vest on and the bullet belt shit, and that was like something I hadn't seen before. That intrigued me. And then I heard what came from her room, and then she started making us listen to stuff. And I think, but it was like the thing that kind of caught my attention. That was like the Appetite for Destruction album of Guns N' Roses. I don't know. It was fun. That was really like something that caught me off guard. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me too. My older brothers, who are 13 and 15 years older than I am, the first time I actually saw Guns N' Roses, the first time they put on an MTV video, and they're like, "David, come watch this." And I was like 6 years old, and it just like I was like, "Whoa, who are these?" I didn't even know people could sound, look, act like that. I didn't even understand.
Yeah.
New paradigm.
Oh, totally. Yeah, it was like a whole world that was strange to you that you didn't know of, and you just wanted to be a part of it, man. You saw them, on stage.
Now, where did you grow up in Belgium? Because I don't think is it from where the band's from? And I'm not going to pronounce the name of the city.
Yeah. We're from a small city in Western Flanders, Belgium. That's like an even smaller part of an already small country. So West Flanders, and there's a city called Kortrijk there, and it's there was this. It was known for its flax industry. Flax like is and there was not a lot to do there. Small villages, the church, like a huge church in the middle of that small village, and so we all came from the same area pretty much. We all lived half an hour from each other. We're not used to distances like you guys are in the States. So that was like the protected environment we all grew up in,
Mm.
and then slowly we migrated to bigger cities, or some of us still live there. Um,
So you
yeah,
guys started playing music kind of when you were obviously. How did you guys kind of start to meet, and how did you start to kind of get involved in, obviously more underground music? So you got
yeah.
the sister is giving you the biggest bands, and like you're like, oh, all right, I'm into this now. What kind of started getting you involved a little bit further in like the underground?
It was pretty much because of skateboarding that we kind of got in contact with punk music and hardcore music more. That and the first time I saw like a local straight edge, there was like a big straight edge scene in the mid 90s in our area, and it was the first time that we kind of saw a concert of some of the local bands, that we kind of realized like, okay, this is within our possibilities. We can do it ourselves if we want to. And that scene was really warm and accepting. Like when you went to shows like that, you felt really welcome, and everybody was really quickly like taking you into that circle.
Mm.
And it felt like, I guess around that age, around the age of 15, you search to belong to something,
Yeah.
that you could connect with, and that was the case for us. So pretty much as soon as we saw those concerts, we started to go to shows like every weekend, and we kind of quickly decided like, okay, you're gonna buy a guitar, you're gonna buy a bass, I'm gonna be the singer. It's just on the spot, no, really, it was funny
Yeah,
how it
so
all started.
so you guys kind of decided like kind of right away. You're like, I'm gonna participate. I could see that other people who are like kind of my age and stuff are doing this shit, and I can go there. I always think that that's like a huge mental hurdle for, especially when you're a younger person, to just jump over. Like all of a sudden you're like, I'm a musician now, or I'm gonna try
Yeah, yeah. At least you're gonna try. Yeah, it's kind of. We never, or in my case, I never really saw myself as a musician, because I never thought I was good enough to call myself a musician.
it.
So
Yeah.
I'm 40 years old now. I still see myself like a skater kid or something. It's stupid, but it's weird to like stick a term on yourself. But yeah, pretty much. We. That's how it went. It was all pretty much overnight that we all decided to buy instruments, and new little bands got formed, and we pretty much started off by copying the local scene stars, who were so kind to be nice to us and help us do the damn thing, and then we got our own albums released, and whatever.
What was the name of like that first hardcore band that Amenra was kind of born out of that band, right? There was like a hardcore band that predated, right?
Yeah. It was called Spineless. It did something here in the local area or in Belgium, but nothing else outside of it. That's how three members of Amenra came from that band. Yeah, and that whole scene was kind of based around Clevo hardcore, pretty much. That was like the main influence of pretty much whole our scene in the beginning. So there was bands like Integrity and Ringworm, who pretty much influenced our local scene stars, and that went from there. Yeah.
That's so funny to me. Like Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah.
Now we're in the middle of Belgium, and it's like Cleveland was really like the thing. And now Integrity is one of my favorite
Yeah, for
hardcore bands of all time. So I feel that. I feel that way too. I mean, that's great music. And Ringworm too. I've toured with those guys. I mean, really brilliant, fucking dark evil shit. Like amazing. But I love just how certain things kind of just, maybe in other countries too, they just take a hold a little bit more, or it's something that really kind of permeates, and you're like, wow, this is really like, this is the thing here. Like how in like Africa, Dire Straits became huge because their records are just so readily available. So they were like, Yeah, and they
Yeah,
influence a lot of African musicians making music like that. I always
it's
find that
weird.
really interesting. Who has access to what? So for you
It's
guys,
true.
Cleveland hardcore was like kind
Yeah.
of a thing.
I guess the older guys in the scene probably got in touch to fucking sending letters to do it probably, or to someone of the, it was what was that again, Dark Empire Records he had back in the time, I think,
Mm-hmm.
probably like that, or they exchanged some stuff, and then it stuck, so that was really, is really interesting. I loved how it went back then. I always wondered, like, how did those albums get here, without the internet, and without, how did the communication go back then? I remember doing the tours with phones and fax machines, and it was so amazing, pretty much, and the
You had to make
posts.
like a personal connection. It was
Yeah, yeah,
like things didn't happen without the personal connection.
no,
So like you had to really dig for it, or go stronger
yeah.
into whatever you
You
were into if you
you
hope.
really had to engage yourself really to a certain degree to, like, build a scene, or build your band, or whatever. It's a beautiful thing. I think the relationships we built back then, they still last, because it was built like that, almost like Dwid lives in Belgium right now. We're going skateboarding tomorrow with our kids. So
Look at that.
yes, it's
Yeah,
nuts. Yeah,
yeah, I forgot that he lives out there. I
yeah,
knew he lived in Europe, but yeah, that's
yeah,
amazing, and it really is a testament to just getting involved and then getting into a culture, being a part of it, and the really fruitful things that come of it. I mean, like most of my best friends in my life, other things like that, I've met
not true.
through music and doing this thing, and that's why I'm even here talking to you. So that's like a really,
Yeah,
these are the intangible things that maybe people don't see besides the records and the art,
no.
that are really a lifeblood of
Hmm.
culture and stuff. So you guys are, most of Amenra is in this hardcore band and stuff. And then
Yeah,
what was the sort of impetus to start? I mean, Amenra to me feels highly conceptual. Like you're not going to just start that band like for no
no.
like
Yeah, yeah,
on an accident. Like, hey, we started an Amenra. Like that doesn't happen. So
I know.
what was the kind of the step that led you to be like, okay, we're gonna leave this kind of straight edge hardcore kind of vibe behind, and we're gonna take this step into, to me, I guess, like the unknown.
Yeah, yeah,
What
yeah.
was that kind of move? What was the impetus for it?
I think after a few years, we kind of had evolved from what was like the metallic hardcore. That was the beginning, into, we kind of got influenced by screamo. That was back then. It was very big in Italy and stuff. So that was really emotion-based lyrics, and very personal. With the
Yeah, I
artists,
love bands like
with the,
Orchid,
yeah,
Combat Wounded Veteran,
yeah,
like Jerome's Dream, Page 99, City of Caterpillar. I love that shit, man.
yeah,
A
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of really great bands.
Funeral Diner, stuff like that. Yeah, it was that was kind of what I personally, and our bass player back then, connected with, because we were less politically involved, and less aggressive in our writing. Um, and then bands like Breach and Converge, and bands like Unbroken, Mean Season, stuff like that, kind of pulled us away of the metal approach towards, like, we got the balls to experiment more, and like early Converge kind of proved to us that you could mix up styles that weren't obvious.
Mm.
um, and obviously the discovery of bands like Neurosis did a really big thing. Early ISIS also, like, showed us the lower, uh, the more bass oriented, lower style of music. Um, and that kind of drew us in. That connected with us, like more like that was our thing, you know. Like, and when you had the sludge bands, for example, they're really, you had the fast-paced parts, and then slowly suddenly had the slow movement in the song, and that's what we liked. That's what connected. We wanted to make that slow music, you know. And yeah, that's kind of not, we didn't really split up, but we went apart, and so three of us continued and started Amenra. That was, yeah, not what it is today, but you know, it was the early steps or the baby steps towards what we are now. Yeah. And we wanted to be more than a band. You know, we kind of realized that music was really something powerful, and we kind of felt that we weren't exploiting the art medium to its fullest extent. You know, we wanted to move people in ways that we hadn't before. You know, we wanted to have goosebumps from time to time, or we wanted to see tears fall on someone's cheeks, and that was something that we hadn't been able to in the past, you know.
Sure. I think that there's like a range and a depth of emotions that when you're a musician, you want to try and maybe like, how can I reach people to this level, right? To this effect. And I think also as a young person, as you start exploring more, sure. Maybe at first you want to belong, and then maybe a little bit later you're like, fuck belonging, I want to do something like even like more far out, but that aligns with these sorts of things. I feel that a lot. I'm very lucky I lived close to New York City, so I was able to run around and, you know, explore all these different passions. But I think that that's a really worthy project, and like you said, that's an amazing way to start a band, is to kind of say, I want to do that. Not like I want to sound like X plus Y, anything like that.
And of course, in the beginning, you always sound a bit like X or Y, you know. Everybody starts, in my opinion, by kind of copying something that they really like, and then in time and with some effort, you can evolve from that into your own identity, you know. But yeah, it was unclear for us, and it still is for us, the what we exactly wanted to be or become. But in an abstract way, we kind of knew we wanted to mix up different media. You know, we wanted to use the arts to its full extent. You know,
sure.
Like the artwork became very important as well. Everything we kind of created in function of that music needed to be. We needed to go the extra mile to like tell the story right or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that that's exactly what I was kind of arriving at before. It's like, it's not kind of like a haphazard thing. And sometimes those things are great, right? Like a punk band that just seems like they just are naturally, like, beautifully, like, we're the Germans, hi. You know, this is how we are. Amenra is a very considered project, but that's a very beautiful thing in its own way. And so, you know, you're like, hey, I want to use all that stuff. And obviously in your performances as well, to translating it from the record to the performances and kind of what the palette is of the music and visually you sort of bring to that. So when you're first sort of starting this out, obviously there's the band who makes the music, but then there's other players involved here, lighting, design, graphic design, things like that. How is it kind of like building that sort of you know, kind of team of people around you and creating that vibe? What was that sort of like?
I think everything got formed in an organic way. You know, it's not like we sat down in the late 90s and went like, okay, we're gonna do this like that and this like that. You know, we didn't know shit about, you know, anything.
Yeah.
So it all happened through trial and error. I think like we like for instance, when we played somewhere and they had their eclectic light show going on during our sets, you know, like when we're playing, I realized like this is not doing it for us. You know, we need control. We need we need to know what is going to happen, and then we started to take our own lights with us, and that was just the lights that mechanics use to work in their cars, you know, like
like the
TL
work
lighting,
lights.
the work lights, you know, with just plug it in, and that was the light, and there was nothing changing during the whole set. But then we had control, you know, like we knew, and then that's how the aesthetic identity started, but just by those dumb lights. And then, you know, we bought some other lights, and then I remember I saw a show by Botch once in a show in Belgium, and they had a guy on stage flicking on I don't know what it's called, like switch boxes. He just connected some lights in a box, an electrical box, you know, and he just was flicking the switch of the damn thing on and off during the set. And I was like, yeah, that's a smart move, you know. They're their own chief when it comes to how it's gonna look.
I think it's an important thing for artists to, you know, a lot of people watch this, right? I get messages and people talking about, you know, they're artists themselves. They're like finding these things out, and that's what I love about these journeys. It's like you didn't end up as, you weren't like Amenra Mass 6 day one. That was a long period. Those sorts of things of like looking at some other people, seeing how they do things, maybe different people teaching you and stuff. Was there certain moments maybe when you played with other bands and opening for them or doing other things where you were like, I like, you know, obviously you just mentioned Botch, which amazing band. What's up, Brian? But were there other bands too that you were like, I kind of like that or that? And anything that sticks out?
Pretty much all the bands that inspired us along the way, like obviously Neurosis had the visuals. Who used the visuals, and that was definitely it enhanced the live experience very much, you know, like it was crazy. You created a known environment. Like in the early years, we also played a lot outside. Like we played in a lot of churches and on in the woods and stuff like that, just with a generator, you know. And then from a certain point on, we had to play in venues, and then we thought like, yeah, but if you stand as the audience or a spectator, you stand in a very artificial context. I mean, it's a venue. It's always the same thing, you know. You have the lights, you have the stage, and then we figured like maybe with the visuals we can take the people out of that venue and take them with us to that forest or to that church or to whatever we want, you know. And if you watch a band like in a different setting, it already feels different. It doesn't feel awkward, but you already feel a certain atmosphere that is normally not there in a concert venue. You know, like in a concert venue, you have the bar and you have the Friday night evening vibe going, you know, but then you take it away into like a serious context, like in like when you play a church, for example. We have zillions of them out here, you know. As soon as you enter the damn place, it kind of shushes you, you know. It like the size of the damn thing demands your respect in a way.
Yeah, just the ceilings, just the height of the ceilings alone. You're like,
wow. You know, that the columns that are there. It's just something that is or subliminally fucking inside you to like shut the fuck up and pay attention. You know, this is something important is gonna happen here. You know. Stuff like that, you know, and that's where the visuals came in. That went like, okay, we can take the people out of this venue, out of this, you know, pleasurable place. Anyway, so and the Roses definitely showed us that, and then in my opinion, like for me as a singer, when I first saw the band Tool play in the 90s, or when I saw the band 16 Horsepower play.
Yeah, great band.
When I saw the singers, you know, they had this. That's where I realized that if you sing about something, you have to mean it, like more than anything. You have to be. It has to be your story, and only your story that you bring. Only that story you can bring in a way that is honest and profoundly direct when it comes to like human to human communication or whatever, you know.
Sure.
So those are things that also inspired me, you know.
Yeah, I think that that's like really true, and it actually kind of brings me to sort of the next moment. I like how this is sort of building, because you were saying it's like, yeah, you can create this sort of, this space can, wherever you're at, it can be transformed. You can set a scene like you're watching a film or something. Like yeah, you're sitting in a bunch of seats in like a room, but like you're in wherever, you're in outer space. Like it doesn't matter. And then I think that something that I believe that I read something, and the quote was really, I thought it was really great. As someone who screamed his ass off for a long time, but it was like, you know, if you hear someone scream on the street, it all of a sudden, and it's genuine, right? Like maybe somebody broke their arm or some shit, you know, like just an accident. It's like everyone like turns around, like, holy crap, like what's going on there? And you said something to the effect of, you know, hey, you know, if you hear something like that, it demands your respect, it demands your attention, and that's the way that you kind of try and make music. How do you kind of try and translate that concept through Amenra in your kind of vocal performance?
That's, I always say, like my singing is not an aesthetic choice. You know, it's not like our music asks for a lower sounding voice. You know, that musically it makes more sense, but it doesn't draw your instinctive attention as much. You know, the screams gotta hurt for me. You know. It's those things. I mean, it's the sound of a genuine scream. It's the sight of blood on the sidewalk that stops you in your moment. You know, it's and that's a bit the idea. That's the sentiment we try to find with the band. You know, it's the standing still in the moment that is like important. Like asking yourself what's happening right now. I don't know. It's hard to describe.
Yeah, but I think that there's just an earnestness too, right? Like there's like, okay, you make the aesthetic choice, but when you're in a moment that's like so immediate and so direct, there's no aesthetic choice. It's just completely visceral.
It's visceral. Yeah, visceral is the right word. Yeah.
And I think that's what I get from the band, but and it's also like my favorite bands feel that way. Like I can't imagine them doing anything else. Like this motherfucker right here believes it, and I'm like, I'm enthralled by that kind of
that's true.
And that's where I'm kind of that's where I kind of sort of see that. And even in your performance, because it kind of, you know, besides the visual that we put on the stage that you guys put from like a you know, the projections and things like that, you also bring, you know, your body, your physical body really into it. And there's something about that to me, and you sort of said like, you're like, you know, we're like hardcore kids still to this day, like even how we were just characterizing that, which I love, because I'm just a shitty Long Island hardcore kid who likes a lot of shit. That's the way I see myself. But in my mind too, like hardcore bands, like I see old pictures of like Henry Rollins and stuff, and people are just flying everywhere, and he's like this massive dude, and like, and just chaos. That kind of show is chaos, and it's a beautiful chaos, and it's a chaos that I admire. But you kind of create a physicality on stage without the rest of that kind of hardcore chaos, but you almost project it on yourself. What were the choices to bring that into the performance with the tattoos, the scarification, those sorts of things?
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know. It wasn't like a premeditated plan, you know. I've always been interested in body modification, you know. And at first, it was something that was happening behind the scenes, you know. But it made sense in a way. It slipped into the lyrics, you know, and we did that. Then we talked about it like a certain circumstances were coming into my life and our lives, and then we kind of thought that you know, maybe it's a time to like incorporate it on stage or make it a part of our band, you know. Like I remember our bass player, he was in art school, and he made etchings, you know. So he was like making etching artwork and stuff, and then I was like, yeah, maybe you should like scratch one into my leg, you know, like. And that was like the first steps we made into mixing up those worlds, and then suddenly they came visible on stage. And there's always been like for the tattoo on the back, there's always been interest in symbolism from our part. I mean, and the importance of needing to have things around you to hold on to from time to time, you know, and it disappearing as well. Like in our, like I said, I've been talking about the churches all the time. Like it's been shoved down our throats from the day we were born here. You know, our grandmas went to go and burn candles in the churches and in the pilgrimage places throughout the villages and Europe, pretty much, and all of that was disappearing. But ritual and symbolism and still are important for the humans. I mean, for contemporary humans, it's been around since the start of humanity, you know.
Sure.
Yeah, we also try to find ways to build those things for ourselves.
Yeah, is it partly like I often see this, you know, I feel like you know, being from the United States and stuff, like there's a lot of, you know, there's a culture here that there's a lot of, you know, transitions between boyhood, manhood, woman to, you know, like girl to woman. It's all really mixed up. It's not really, there's not a lot of ritual in our society. In our society, it's like drink 10 beers and go to college or something. It's like really you lose a lot. And I also think that maybe from a pretty young age, I didn't really believe in God too much, things of that nature, you know, after a certain time. But like I still wanted, there's still a communion aspect. There's a certain thing that wants to have us all around the fire and dancing.
Yeah.
And I feel like, at least for me, I find that so much in metal music and stuff like that and things of this nature. And it's almost like you're building the alternative to the thing that you grew up with.
It is exactly that. Yeah, it's exactly that. It's your congregation, you know, of like-minded people, you know, and you kind of believe in the same set of morals, or you know, for the most part, stuff like that. It's in my opinion, yeah, that's exactly that. And that's our weekly gatherings, you know. That's where we meet up, and you're part of that. But also in our case, like there's a lot of religious comparison and stuff, like masses and whatever. Our kind of music does have a certain introspective character. Like when you go to a live show of us, a lot of people stand there with their eyes closed, you know. That's something weird or something interesting as well, You have people who watch the visuals, you have people who watch the band, and then you have a lot of people who just stand there with their eyes closed the whole show. And that's like an interesting thing. So it's kind of introspective. That's how we started to like compare it to like a mass in church, which was also a moment where people addressed um, uh, their own problems at the time, or their own aspirations, or they asked for help, or they just questioned their own lives or situations, you know. So that's how the comparison to the churches, to the church and going to church was made in our case, you know. And that's how
like as a fan, I think like or somebody who's, you can find a place in the music to occupy and sort of project whatever is going on with you. And I think that sometimes it's a very beautiful thing, you know. I remember going to a talk one time, and it was Ian Mackay from Fugazi was you know, kind of talking, and he was talking about Minor Threat, and he was saying, he's like, I tried to make this music, and it was like the most direct fucking music, you know, like Seeing Red, like I tried to say things so directly that
there's no way out.
No one could get it wrong, and everybody got it wrong, like in his mind. And so then with Fugazi, he kind of went completely the other end, because he's just like, everyone's gonna kind of have their take or project themselves onto it, so why not just kind of give something a bit more open-ended. And it really changed, I think, like his philosophy as far as how he approached what he was doing. And I always thought that was really interesting, and I think that it's always a beautiful thing when music can give you like a canvas for your own experience to kind of
totally
project it on.
I think that's indeed where you connect with a certain song or a certain album, when you kind of feel like it's been written for you, you know. It's like it's telling your story. That's where you completely connect with a certain album or song even, and take it with you for the rest of your life, you know. That's the magic in music, I think. Or when it's so specifically written, like it talks about your situation right in that moment, you know.
And then you're like, why does Robert Smith have all my feelings? This is so
how does he know, you know? How does he know?
I don't know. But I totally agree with you. And that's where I think the magic in a lot of this comes from, right? There's moments, obviously, that we get to share together, which, you know, that's why we're doing this instead of you guys maybe playing at the bar or something. But that's where there's those moments. But then there's those moments where you're sitting there and you're like, this dude from Belgium is just nailing it, and like whatever I'm going through in life, or maybe I perceive. And that's a connection that just supersedes so much.
That's like it's
inexplicable.
That makes us all human, you know. Like suddenly we become, you know, suddenly borders and territory doesn't really matter anymore. You kind of address, like you say, a visceral, instinctive, thing and inside of us, you know. So that's cool. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I always find interesting, and usually I find it mostly in like solo artists, or when I do this with solo artists, is that, you know, if you're in a band with yourself forever, you are in a band with yourself forever. But you've been pretty much playing music with the same people for what, like, you
20
know,
years,
plus years, right?
Yeah.
So, how do you feel that as like an evolution and stuff like that? And do you feel kind of like, wow, holy shit, I met these people when I was 15 years old, and now we're able to build this? How has that sort of felt for you?
Oh yeah, we're starting to realize that for the last like 5 years, like that it's fucking crazy that we're still around, and we still enjoy being around each other like crazy, you know. Like in essence, we were friends before we became a band, you know. We went skateboarding together, we went snowboarding together, whatever. and we still are. I mean, we've seen each other evolve through 2 decades now, and we could have evolved in different directions, you know, but we haven't. So that's amazing, and something to be really consider. We really consider ourselves lucky, you know, and that our egos match up, you know, that no one really finds himself threatened by someone else or whatever, you know. We're
Sure.
extremely compatible, you know.
And those are the trappings of obviously a lot of bands and different things like that. And I think it's interesting because of the way that you guys have conducted yourself over time, and just, you know, reading different interviews and saying, you know, we make music when we can make music, when we feel like there's something important to say and stuff like, you know, there's moments in life that really like are demanding our, you know, like our music can be a vehicle for that moment. You know, it's not like every 2 years I'm getting something from Amenra. And I think
Yeah.
that that's something that really is true to the approach of being like very visceral and very true to your story. If you don't have another chapter, how can you just kind of give that, right?
Yeah. It's especially in our case, it's important for us to understand each other, you know, like, and I can write lyrics about what's going on in a drummer's head, for example, because I know that's the most uh, yeah, you know what I mean, like when he lost his mother, you know, that was something that needed to be addressed in our music, you know. But since I'm the singer, I have to put words to it, you know. But as
Mm.
we're such good friends, and as we've known each other for so long, you can do that, you know. So, and I think that translates itself again in a truthful document, you know. And I think in essence, a listener or a viewer or whatever sees or feels that it comes from a certain genuine place, you know, or it's not a marketing strategic construction, you know, or something. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that idea too. It's just like these, you guys are, you know, obviously really great friends and stuff like that, and you have not just your experience to draw from, but the collective experience seems to supersede, uh, you know, any one particular thing. So it kind of creates this bigger whole, which actually kind of goes to my next question, which I was just thinking more about, like Church of Ra and how you've kind of extended this out. You know, we did a show with Weege Dude that was incredible at Saint Vitus, and a fabulous band, Oathbreaker, as well as played.
Yeah.
I love fucking Belgium. You know, I guess that's what it is. Rise and Fall, love them too. Ghent as
Yeah.
well. I know nothing about Ghent, but fuck, the band was good.
Yeah.
But you know, and it's all kind of coming from this sort of collective, you know, kind of
Feeding grounds or whatever. Yeah.
what was it like establishing Church of Ra? To me, it's obviously you guys are on Neuron. It kind of feels like it has Crass Records, Neuron, like these sorts of things. They kind of spring up in very special ways. What was it like, kind of propping that up to kind of give more attention to maybe other people in your artistic kind of community?
Yeah. I think it was a matter of gratitude as well towards everyone who was helping us at the moment to create what we were creating. You know, like, it wasn't only the five musicians anymore. You know, it was the photographer, it was the graphic designer, it was it was everybody who helped and contributed to the aesthetic world as well. So that's where I knew that we had to find like a name for the community who was helping us to build what we are today, you know. And from that, you know, there were bands around us and formed outside of us that that, you know, were part of that group of people. And it was that mindset of giving it your 100% and being truthful in what you write, and morals as well, you know, that kind of are important, like how you are as a human as well, not only, you know, seeking fortune and fame, but yeah, something like passing on a passion, or like passing on the fire, you know, like
Sure. And it's a lot in method too, not just what is the
yeah,
like exponent
true,
of this, you know. And I think that that's where, you know, you kind of come connected back to like kind of being kids and hardcore and things of that nature too. It's like that's where you kind of learn those like lessons, and then you
yeah,
kind of
and you
bring that DIY ethic, that kind of like, hey, I want to build like my little world here, and you kind of go for it, and it's really
yeah,
beautiful to me to see those things start to pop up and happen when it really works well. It's like an amazing thing. You tap into, you know, like for me being from the States and also, you know, booking Saint Vitus, and that's, you know, what I do for a living and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm looking at this little world when I can, and I'm like trying to see what comes out of it and just shakes out of it. And it's
mm-hmm.
really a beautiful kind of expression of just what you guys have created, but also all the people around you and highlighting that, because it's always a community. It's usually more just the people in the band, right?
The original aim was just to it's all very simple. I mean, it was helping each other out, you know, and making each other grow. It was, you know, everybody benefits, everybody works hard, contributes to its fullest capacity, and we all push each other forward, you know, we all grow, and we all create something that we can be proud of, you know. And if one person uses his own network for the other person, it's like you say, it's like the DIY hardcore community approach, just, you know, just pulled inside what we had, you know.
Totally.
I
And that's how you build something with integrity, and it shows. And it's like a really great way, I think, sometimes, you know, in in this world too, everyone's, you know, kind of clout chasing or running around trying to get this or that or the other thing. It's like your favorite bands never did that really,
No.
and they kind of just created a great product. They created a thing that you can be a part of or want to be a part of, sonically, emotionally, aesthetically, however you want to categorize that. And I always think that those things will carry weight through time. It's an old
Hmm.
school approach, but it's a
Yeah, and
beautiful
it's
thing.
and it's and it's a work of it's a long-term approach. I mean, it's
Sure.
you're patient, you know. Nowadays, I notice, like, some younger generations, they seem to not have as much patience as we had, you know.
Mm.
Like, it always needs to go quick, and they need to get big crowds, and it needs to be as big as possible in a short amount of time. But yeah, it's a different approach, you know.
And you're not, and like I think that you were saying before, it's like you're not even sure of what you're going to find yet.
No.
You started Amenra, where you know, there's 20 years in between, and you guys have grown, and what you've done musically, aesthetically, all of it has grown into, bloomed into what it is now. But
uh,
you had to try, and you had to
yeah,
figure that out, right?
it needed
Um,
it needed the time to grow, you know. It needed to happen in a slow way, you know.
Absolutely.
um yeah,
And it's incredible to see. I've seen Amin Ram in Saint Vitus twice, uh, when we had you guys play. Actually, once on the
yeah,
4th of July, which was
yeah.
totally,
It was
and
fun. It
that
was
was
fun
great.
for us. Yeah. It was
Yeah,
really
it was.
cool to see, like, a 4th of July in the States for us, you know.
Yeah,
That's interesting to see
in
how
New
it
York
how
City, which is a whole
how
other
you live
kind of,
that stuff.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
a whole other thing.
it
And
was
then
really cool to.
and then I've seen you guys play on a bit of a bigger stage with Convergent Neurosis,
Yeah.
in the States as well. But I've also seen you guys in London, at Desert Fest. And it was
Hmm.
really something to see you in front of a European crowd too, because of
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
the
It's
history
different, yeah.
there too, and just and seeing that, and it's just amazing to see how everything has sort of grown and built, over time. And the thing that we were about to do before, unfortunately, the world kind of went sideways with this is we were going to premiere Flood of Light, which is the documentary on the band too, which, you know, if you want a like much more beautiful take on obviously we and Colin are talking about, you can go see that on Vimeo. Bobby Cochran made that, and he was in touch with us. Really cool guy, you know. And we were hoping to do that, but what was it like, kind of turning back and working with Bobby to encapsulate the last 20 years of Amenra?
It was really beautiful, like to work with him. It was we had been talking about like making a documentary for like 10 years already, you know, and we had filmed like a zillion. We have like 20 hard drives full of footage here that no one has the courage anymore to go looking. And it was so hard to make that documentary. And then we met Bobby through Oathbreaker. So he had photographed Oathbreaker on one of their tours, and I saw those pictures passing by, and it kind of resembled our style of photographing. Like Stefan Temmerman is a photographer that is a member of our crew actually right now, but he is our stage tech when we play shows here in Europe. And anyway, it made me think about, you know, our aesthetic. So I was like, shit, maybe, you know, Leonard also said like, I think that guy would be great to have with us on tour in the States, because he takes beautiful pictures and he's a really nice guy. And then we hooked up with each other in I think it was Seattle, I think, yeah. And from the first minute on, you know, I had never met him before. We mailed like 3 times hence and forth before we arrived there. I immediately had a click with him on a human level, and instantly he became a part of our circle. It was really nice to be around him. So that's how he was far enough from us, you know. He didn't know us yet that long, but we really trusted him and really felt good to have him around us. So he was able to like quickly grasp what we were doing and doing it in a way that made sense. And he pretty much he made the whole thing by himself.
Which is incredible. I mean, it's a great documentary. You can, you know, rent it on Vimeo. Like it's available. Like anybody who's watching this, super cool. It's, you know, beautifully done. And I think that you're right. You know, just the closeness and the farness, you know, where it's like, I'm comfortable to be around this person, but he hasn't been with us for 20 years. So they're going to just kind of get what it is. And one of the things, honestly, that I dig about it is just kind of, it shows the kind of the brotherhood, the kind of just hanging out, the fun aspect of it, of being in a band. And like, you guys have known each other forever. You started as skateboarding hardcore kids. Like, Amenra is not like a stuffy kind of group of people. Like, I remember at Desert Fest, after you guys played, you guys were playing like new wave and like you like goth jams all night. And I'm like, I was there, and I'm like sitting there drinking tequila and like listen to Sisters of Mercy, and I'm like, I love these fucking guys. I mean, we didn't have them that night, but I was just like, this is my idea of a fucking great time. And I also, for people who, you know, may have not, you know, been over there at a festival or whatever, it does give a nice glimpse into the other sides of the band that, like, I feel like Amenra feels like I'm with my best friends and I'm confiding in them my existential things. But you can only do that maybe if you're comfortable enough or love each other enough to do that. And I think it shows the other side of that, which is very important. And then that was really cool to see.
That's definitely an aspect of being in a band that is never very much highlighted. You know, you see the band pics where everybody tries to look as tough as he possibly can, and the stage, the live photography, and the stage, the shows, you know. but there's a whole other aspect behind that, and that's the human aspect. That's the families behind it, and the friendship behind it. So that's definitely something that was the one thing that we wanted to show to the people, that and like you say, for fellow musicians like you and stuff, you see that's how it is, like when you're on tour and when you're having a good time, and when you're just hanging out and passing time, that's the most part of the touring,
Yeah,
it's
that's
the hanging out.
3 hours of the day is
Oh yeah.
leading up to that. So we have a
Totally.
lot of time to kind of get to, the stage. So you hope that you'll be passing it with some people that you like, and
Yeah,
you
well,
have a
that's
great
cool.
connection with and stuff, and that just comes out there, in its own particular ways and stuff. Just before, we'll have just a couple minutes left. I think like 3 or 4 minutes left.
Yeah.
Just curious, as you're kind of passing this quarantine by and stuff like that, has the band been active? Have you been able to write? Have you seen each other? What's kind of the vibe there?
Yeah, we've worked a lot actually. We took the time to like write and record a lot, and a lot of side projects have albums that are ready already. And So the first month we were kind of lost, because the expectations were really high on musicians. It was like, oh yeah, now you'll have time to write and it's going to be amazing. And then the first month
Yeah.
everybody was just sitting at home.
I love that too. Like, you have time, you're like, yeah, dude, but the fucking world is blowing up outside.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it was weird. Everyone was kind of living in fear here. Nobody was allowed to go outside. So if you can't rehearse, how are you gonna fucking write an album, or even let alone record it, or. But then as soon as you could hang out with a certain amount of people, it was the first thing we did. We started rehearsing. So yeah, we see each other every week pretty much, and we are writing like madmen, and yeah, we did a hell of a lot of.
Oh, got a little bit of a lag there.
Yeah, well, it's kind of
a little bit of a blip, but
sorry.
it's all good. But yeah, like, you've been able to get back to work a little bit and reemerge into doing the things that you love, which just playing in a room is like a beautiful thing too. So I'm really happy to hear that you guys are able to do that, and that things are kind of going well, and hopefully in the near future we'll able to get back to our live experiences and doing the things that we love. But Colin, we got like a minute left, and I just want to thank you so much for for reaching out to us too, and we really appreciate you, man, and thanks for doing this in the middle of the night in Belgium, man. It's truly wonderful.
Yeah, no.
And we hope to have you back at Saint Vitus whenever it's possible.
Hey, thanks for having me, and thanks for doing this, man. And I hope everything will work out for you guys. You can start again with the shows as quickly as possible.
Yeah, man, we're hanging tough, and we're really lucky to have a wonderful amount of support, and it's been, although a trying time, a very illuminating time in that regard.
Yeah.
So, we're really dogged to keep doing what we're doing. So you do the same, man. And then we'll link up in like a year.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, thanks for everything, man. Yeah,
absolutely. Have a wonderful night, man. Take care.
Yeah, you too. Yep.
Ciao.
Yep.